The Tender Bar is based on the memoir of the same name written by J.R. Mulringer and is directed by George Clooney. The film stars Ty Sheridan and Ben Affleck and tells the story of young J.R. growing up with his mom in his parents' household and eventually transitioning into young adulthood where he attends Yale and wants to be an author. The Tender Bar is fine enough, if a bit conventional. It's a story you've seen/heard many of times, and the film doesn't stray away from the formula too much. There is an older, unseen narrator who pops up from time to time to lend added context to a few of the scenes. The movie begins with JR as a young child highlighting formative moments in his youth, and at the beginning of the second act it jumps to a much older JR. It's all pretty standard stuff in regards to the coming-of-age memoir films. Although the structure of this film, most notably in the first act, is a little jumbled. There are intermediate spurts where the film will show the older JR and you think it's setting up for something different, and once the second act hits and the rest of the movie is spent with JR portrayed by Ty Sheridan, it's not 100% clear. The Tender Bar is simultaneously good editing with some fun cutaways, as well as editing that's not so great with moments seemingly lacking directive, as I just mentioned. The Tender Bar is a solid enough cast. Ty Sheridan, who plays older JR, is great as usual. Max Martini, who plays JR as estranged father, is also good in the limited role he is in, and the child who they got to portray young JR was surprisingly good as far as child actors go. However, I would be remiss not to mention Ben Affleck, who plays Uncle Charlie, a barkeep who acts as JR's father figure. Affleck was excellent in this film, and although I have yet to see The Last Duel, I believe it to be his best performance in years. There's a lot of wit and charisma packed into the character, and it was always a treat when you got to share screen time with Sheridan or Ranieri. There are a lot of good things going for The Tender Bar. It's a good-looking film that captures the era of the 1970s quite well, and it could have been a heartwarming story to boot. However, I feel some of the faults of the film lie on director George Clooney. The jumbled structure of the first act, not giving time for certain scenes to breathe, instead falling back on the tropes found in other biographical films. The Tender Bar just doesn't feel like it was Clooney's strong suit. There is a good movie in there somewhere that breaks out of the conventional foundations present in this film. Had The Tender Bar been in the hands of a director familiar with the genre, I believe it could have been better than what it was. And this is no slight against Clooney, as he has directed some great movies in the past. I just don't know if he was the guy for it here. All in all, The Tender Bar is a perfectly fine film that I'm sure would please most moviegoers, and that's my main issue with it. The film doesn't try anything new or add some sort of spin to the genre to make it at least stand out. This is an easily forgettable film, which is a shame given the cinematography and performance of Ben Affleck. But even that isn't enough to save the film from how average it really is. And for that reason, I'm giving The Tender Bar a 5 out of 10. Alright guys, so that'll do it for today's video. It is the first movie review of 2022, which is super exciting. If you enjoyed this video, please smack the like button, subscribe for more, and if you want to keep up with me on Letterboxd, the link will be in the description, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.